Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kita mulakan kelas kita pada pagi ini dengan membaca Ummul Kitab Al-Fatihah. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Arrahmanirrahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayidina Muhammadin asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi washabbihi ajmain. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan kami, ampunkanlah dosa-dosa kami, ampunkanlah dosa kedua ibu bapa kami dan kasihilah mereka sebagaimana mereka mengasihi kami di masa kecil. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan kami, kurniakanlah kepada kami ilmu yang bermanfaat untuk diri kami, keluarga kami, agama kami, bangsa kami dan negara kami. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan kami, berilah kepada kami kejayaan di dunia dan di akhirat. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan kami, jadikanlah kami orang-orang yang bersyukur. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Walhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Okay, alhamdulillah kita bersyukur kepada Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala kerana dengan keizinan Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala pada pagi ini kita dapat bersama sekali lagi untuk minggu yang ke-7 ya. Yang ke-7. Okay, jadi pada pagi ini kita nak sambung dengan tajuk baru iaitu Investment in Associate and Joint Ventures ya. Jadi tanpa meringahkan masa, kita pergi kepada slide yang telah tersedia. Okay, can you see this slide?
Yes.
Okay, so this slide is basically for this particular topic, accounting for associates, joint ventures. So joint ventures is actually one type of joint arrangement sebab tu saya sebutkan joint ventures tadi, accounting for associate, joint arrangement and equity basis of accounting. In our book it is in chapter 14. Okay, so the MFRS that is related to this one is MFRS 128, investment in associate and joint ventures. Okay, what is the definition of associate? According to MFRS 128, associate is an entity over which the investor has significant influence. Yeah. If entity over which the investor has control. Yeah. Subsidiary, investor has control. Associate, investor has significant influence. Is there any difference between control and significant influence? Of course, there is a difference. Okay, control, by controlling, everybody must listen to you. Yeah, everybody must listen to you. That is control. What about significant influence? Okay, you can give opinion. You can give opinion. It is up to the person who control. It is up to the person who control to listen to you, to agree with you or not to agree with you. That is significant influence. Okay, but normally, okay, your idea, your suggestion will be taken into consideration because you have significant influence. It means you can take part in the discussion, you can take part in the meeting, you can take part in the decision making. Okay. So what is actually significant influence? Investor has significant influence over the investee if it holds directly or indirectly 20% or more of the voting power. Yeah, if you have more than 20% of voting power but less than 50%, you are said to have a significant influence. You have a significant influence. You cannot control, but you can influence the decision. Significant influence can be evidenced by participation in the financial and operating policy decision of the investee, but not control of these policies. Okay, participate but not control. Participate but not control. For example, if a company is having 10 members of the board of directors, okay, by having 20% interest in that company, your representative may be appointed. Your representative may be appointed as one of the board of directors, or two of the board of directors, or three of the board of directors. So the rest belong to the company that controls that particular industry. So if there are 10, then you hold 3, the other party hold 7. The other party that holds 7 is controlling. You hold three seats, it means you are having significant influence. In fact, if you have one seat also, you can have significant influence. Jadi pendek kata, kalau you ada more than 20%, kemudian you are sitting in the board of directors, you have significant influence. How significant? It depends on the decision of the meeting. And then an investor may exercise significant influence in several ways. Okay, significant influence can be exercised in various ways. Okay, number one, by representation on the board of directors. As long as your company being represented by at least one member in the board of directors, you are actually having significant influence. By participation in policy making process. You can only participate in policy making if you are sitting in the board of directors. Material intercompany transaction. Let's say you are not sitting in the board of directors, but your company is having material intercompany transaction. You are the main supplier. You are the main supplier of that particular investee. You are the main supplier, so you have significant influence. You have significant influence because if you do not want to supply, the investee will face a problem because you are the main supplier. That is an example, material intercompany transaction. Ataupun your company is actually the largest customer. The largest customer. So if you pull your loyalty to the company by not purchasing the product from that company, the company will face problem. So that is the meaning of material intercompany transaction. Okay, and then number 4, interchange of managerial personnel. Interchange of managerial personnel. That is an evidence that you have significant influence. It means you can put your personnel in that management of the company. And that management of the company can put personnel in your company. Sebab apa dekat situ? Interchange of managerial personnel or dependency on technical information. Okay, you are not the supplier, you do not sit in the board of directors, you do not participate in policy making, you do not have intercompany transaction. The company, that is technical information. You are technical provider ataupun technical information provider. If you do not provide the technical information, the company will face problem. And the company is very dependent on your company. So, you are actually having significant influence. Tapi syaratnya apa? Syaratnya ni lah. Syaratnya you have 20 or more percent of voting power. 20 or more percent of voting power dulu. Itu syaratnya. Jadi kalau tak ada yang 20% or more ni, tak adalah. Tak adalah yang lain-lain ni. Walaupun kadang-kadang, sometimes you hold 15% but you have significant influence. As long as you can provide the evidence that you are actually taking part in financial and operating policy. If you have 15% but you are sitting in the board of directors, then you have significant influence. Walaupun syarat asal dia 20%. Tapi kalau 10% memang tidaklah. Okay. 10% memang tidaklah. Walaupun dia punya syarat 20%, sometimes 15% can be considered. Potential voting shares. The existence and effect of potential voting shares, that is share options, warrants or convertible instruments that are currently exercisable or convertible, should be considered in determining whether investor has significant influence or not. Okay. So, for example, Investor AB holds 150,000 ordinary share out of 1 million. So it is only 15%. 150,000 ordinary share out of 1 million shares of ACE. ACE has 1 million. So 150,000 is only 15%. And then AB has also a share option that it can exercise at any time. That is 150,000 shares in ACE. You can purchase anytime. You have the option to purchase. If exercised, AB would hold 300,000 in total out of 1,150,000 shares of ACE. So, AB is not yet holding that 150,000. AB is only holding 150,000, the first 150,000. The second 150,000 has not yet been exercised. But for the purpose of calculating, the significant influence, for the purpose of finding the evidence whether the company has significant influence, that second 150,000 can be considered to calculate the percentage. So here, AB not yet hold 26% or more of the voting shares of ACE Berhad. Okay, that is 150,000 divided by 1 million, that is 15%. It is still 15%, but AB need to trade ACE as its associate. Okay, AB need to trade ACE as its associate because it has potential 150,000. So the actual 150,000 plus potential 150,000 equal to 300,000 divided by 1,150,000. That is equal to 26%. Okay, so now AB is having significant influence over ACE Berhad because it has actual percentage plus potential percentage of 26%. Okay, so ini yang kita kata you become having a significant influence because of potential voting shares. Next, loss of significant influence. An investor loses significant influence when it loses the power to participate in the financial and operating policy of that investee. Okay, maknanya you tak ada lagi, tak ada lagi kuasa untuk untuk participate dalam financial and operating policy. This loss of significant influence may be lost with or without change in ownership. Okay, kita lihat sekejap kat sini. Okay. Macam mana dia boleh lost dia punya significant influence tadi? When the company is not participating in financial and operating policy. Okay. Kemudian, the representation of members in the board of directors. When there is no more representation, apabila tak ada lagi lantikan daripada board of directors. You cannot take part in policy making. There is no intercompany transaction. There is no interchange of managerial personnel. There is no dependency of technical information. Okay. Jadi maknanya itu adalah evidence yang you telah kehilangan significant influence. Okay. Kemudian bawah tu, this loss of significant influence may be lost with or without change of ownership. Jadi walaupun you ada 20%, sepatutnya 20% you ada significant influence. Tetapi you tak ada significant influence. With or without a change of ownership. Next, accounting treatment of associates. Accounting in the investor's own financial statement. In the investor's own financial statement maknanya dalam account investor. Apa yang dia perlu buat? According to MFRS 128, it requires the investor to account for the associate which is not held for sale at cost or in accordance with MFRS 139 in its own financial statement. Jadi investment in associate tadi kita akan nyatakan dia sama ada dalam bentuk cost, cost of the investment ataupun at fair value. Okay, at fair value. Number 2, accounting in the investor's consolidated financial statement. In the first one, in the investor's own financial statement. In the second one, in the consolidated financial statement. What it will be, how it will be stated. In the consolidated financial statement, the associate is accounted for using the equity method. Okay, using the equity method. What is equity method? Okay, we'll explain later. Equity method. This one. The investment in associate or joint venture is initially recognized at cost. So under the equity method, the investment will be initially recognized at cost. And the carrying amount of increase or decrease by the investor's share, by the investor's share of the post-acquisition profits or losses of the investee will be added or will be deducted. The investor's share of the investor's profit or loss is recognized in the investor's profit or loss. Okay, jadi kat sini kita nak cerita sikit. Okay, apa yang dimaksudkan sebagai equity method? What is meant by equity method? Equity method, firstly, the investment will be stated at cost. Initially, the investment will be stated at cost. Subsequently, after that, the investment will be added with the increase in profit. Increase in profit of the associate. If let's say the associate is having a profit of 100,000, okay, the associate is having a profit of 100,000, part of 100,000 will be added to the cost, will be added to the cost of the investment. Why only part? Why not all? Because investment in associate is only certain percentage, that is 20% or more. So if the percentage of investment in associate is 20%, then 20% times 100,000, that is equal to 20,000. So let's say the cost of investment in associate is 100,000 plus share of profit of 20,000. So at the end of the year, okay, the carrying amount of investment in associate is 100,000 plus 20,000 equal to 120,000. Okay, what about the situation where the associate is suffering losses? Let's say the associate is suffering losses of 50,000 for the year, and the percentage of investment is 20%. Then the investor will share 20% of the loss. That is equal to 20% times 50,000 equal to 10,000. So the initial cost is 100,000 minus 10,000 share of loss. So at the end of the year, the carrying amount of investment in associate is 90,000. Okay, so basically the cost will be added or will be decreased by investor share of post-acquisition profit or losses of the investee. So profit or loss is the first item that will be added or subtracted from the cost of investment in associate. Secondly, the increase or decrease in carrying amount of investment will also include the investor share of changes in investee's other comprehensive income. Comprehensive income. Okay, jadi maknanya kalau katakan adalah associate ni dia revalue upward, maknanya dia akan dapat apa dia? Surplus on revaluation. So kalau surplus on revaluation, the amount of surplus on revaluation, the investor has a share on it. The investor has a share on it. Let's say the surplus on revaluation is 50,000 and the percentage just now is 20%. So 10,000 of the surplus on revaluation is being shared by the investor. Jadi ada share dia kat situ. So naiklah dia punya carrying amount of the investment. So basically in summary, equity method is a method of accounting whereby the investment is initially recognized at cost and adjusted thereafter for the post-acquisition change in the investor share of investee's profit or loss, and the investor's other comprehensive income includes its shares of the investee other comprehensive income. Jadi ini yang mengubah ni. Okay. Jadi yang pertama dia berubah disebabkan oleh profit ataupun loss. Yang kedua dia berubah disebabkan oleh surplus on revaluation ataupun deficit on revaluation. So this one is the summary. Okay, just now we have talked about profit or loss and also other comprehensive income. Actually, there is another element that will change the carrying amount of investment in associate. And the thing is dividend. Dividend and other distribution from investee reduce the carrying amount of investment. So, the carrying amount of the investment in associate or joint venture is disclosed as non-current asset unless the investment is classified as held for sale in accordance with MFRS 5. So, how are we going to calculate the carrying amount of the investment in associate? We start with investment at cost, add post-acquisition profit or loss. If profit, we add. If loss, we subtract. Okay, and then add post-acquisition share in other comprehensive income. And then minus dividend. Minus dividends. And also minus impairment of goodwill. So basically, there are 4 items that will change the value of investment in associate. And the first one is profit or loss. The second one is other comprehensive income. The third one is dividend. And the fourth one is impairment of goodwill. Okay, class, are you following?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Exemption from applying the equity method. Exemption mean pengecualian. Pengecualian. You will be exempted. Okay. Exempted from applying the equity method. So sama jugalah kalau kita tengok masa kita study tentang control an investor is controlling another company. So the investor can also be exempted from preparing consolidated financial statement. Okay, dengan ada syarat-syarat tertentu lah. So here the exemption from applying the equity method. MFRS 12 requires an entity is to account for its investment in the joint venture or associate using equity method. According to MFRS 12, it requires an entity to account for its investment in joint venture or associate using the equity method. What does it mean? A, the investor is exempted from applying the equity method if the entity is a parent that is exempted from preparing consolidated financial statement. Kena faham yang ni The investor is exempted from applying the equity method if the entity is a parent that is exempted from preparing consolidated financial statement. Jadi, kalau katakan dia telah dikecualikan daripada buat consolidated financial statement, maknanya dia ada parent yang atas lagi. Dia ada parent yang atas lagi. So, dia dikecualikan daripada menyediakan consolidated financial statement. Jadi, pada masa yang sama, dia juga dikecualikan daripada accounting its associate under equity method. Tidak. Faham tak ni? Faham tak ayat ni? Faham tak ayat ni?
Faham.
Faham Okay. So B, when all the following apply. Number 1, the entity itself is a wholly owned subsidiary or partially owned subsidiary and the other owners were informed and do not object to the parent not presenting consolidated financial statement. Jadi kita nampak macam syarat-syarat pengecualian untuk consolidated financial statement juga. You are wholly owned ataupun partly owned, okay, and the other shareholders are not objecting for you not presenting consolidated financial statement. Secondly, the entity debt or equity instrument are not traded in the public. So it means you are not a public listed company. or you are not in the process of becoming a public listed company. Sama juga dengan exemption untuk presenting the consolidated financial statement. And number 4, the ultimate or any intermediate parent of the investor produce consolidated financial statement. Sama juga kecuali yang kelima ni. The investment is classified as held for sale in accordance with MFRS 5 non-current asset, held for sale and discontinued operation. Jadi yang 4 ni, ini sama dengan pengecualian penyediaan consolidated financial statement kepada parent. Okey, 1, 2, 3, 4 ni sama, yang kelima saja berbeza. So, pengecualian untuk equity method ada 5. Pengecualian untuk consolidated financial statement ada 4 sahaja. Alright. Discontinuing the use of equity method. Macam tadi pengecualian, yang ni kita berhenti daripada menggunakan equity method. The entity is to discontinue the use of equity method from the date the investment ceases to be an associate or joint venture. Jadi tamat tempoh dia menjadi associate, tamat tempoh dia menjadi joint venture, maka tamatlah tempoh untuk menggunakan equity method. Bila masa? When? A, when the investment becomes a subsidiary. So asalnya dia associate, sekarang jadi subsidiary. Bila dia jadi subsidiary saja, kita kena stop equity method. In which case, it will be accounted in accordance with MFRS 3 business combination and MFRS 10 consolidated financial statement. Yang ni tak apalah. Dia naik pangkat daripada associate menjadi subsidiary. Daripada 20% jadi 55%. So dia naik pangkat. Tak apalah. Okay. Ataupun B, the residual interest in the investment is a financial asset, in which case it will be measured at fair value. This occurs when the joint control or significant influence is lost, such as where a substantial interest in the investee is disposed. The fair value of the investment on the date it ceases to be an associate or joint venture will be the deemed cost on initial measurement as a financial asset under MFRS 139. The difference between the fair value and carrying amount under equity method will be recognized as part of the gain on disposal for the portion not retained. Okey, jadi yang ni pula kita jual sebahagian daripada percentage tu. Kita jual sebahagian daripada saham daripada associate. Jadi dia bukan lagi associate lah. Bukan lagi associate, sebaliknya kita kira dia sebagai investment in financial asset. Investment in financial asset under MFRS 139. So kita akan recognize dia at fair value. So kalau naik, dapatlah fair value gain. Kalau turun, dapatlah fair value loss. Dan C, the entity discontinues the use of equity method. Okay, the entity discontinues to use the equity method. Okay, so untuk tadi tu cerita tentang associate. Dan ada jugalah dekat hujung-hujung tu cerita tentang joint venture. Tapi nanti kita akan cerita lebih lanjut lagi tentang joint venture in detail. Sebab joint venture ni bukan satu tajuk, maknanya bukan satu tajuk yang terpisah. Dia satu tajuk yang berkaitan dengan satu tajuk lain, iaitu joint operation. Joint operation nanti kita akan tengoklah joint operation. Jadi joint arrangement ni ada dua, iaitu joint operation dan joint venture. Okey, jadi sebelum masuk kepada joint arrangement, ada tak apa-apa soalan nak ditanya berkaitan dengan investment in associate? Jadi by now, do you know what is investment in associate?
Yes.
Boleh ya? Okey, so kita teruskan. Joint arrangement. Joint arrangement. A joint arrangement is an economic arrangement. Okay, an economic arrangement where there are two or more parties who have joint control. Economic arrangement. Economic arrangement ni maknanya arrangement that involve operation. Arrangement that involve financial, investment that involve business activities. Economic arrangement where there are two or more parties who have joint control. Two or more parties. At least two. Normally, control is done by one party. But here, under joint arrangement, control can be done by more than one party. It can be two parties, it can be three parties. Okay, and this joint arrangement is established under MFRS 11 ataupun MFRS 11. MFRS 11 establishes the principle for financial reporting by parties to joint arrangement. Jadi hari ini kita dah sebut beberapa MFRS, Antaranya adalah MFRS 128, MFRS 12, MFRS 11. According to MFRS 11, the following characteristics identifies a joint arrangement. Okay. A. The parties are bound by a contractual agreement. The parties are bound by a contractual arrangement that is in writing. It could be in writing. Okay, contractual arrangement tadi, it could be writing. If not in writing, in the form of contract or documented discussion. In the form of contract or documented discussion between the parties. So, kita kat situ ada berapa tu? Ada tiga, in the form of writing, in the form of contract, or in the form of documented discussion between the parties of the joint operation. The parties of the joint arrangement. The terms of the arrangement could be incorporated into the articles, charter, or bylaws of the parties with the vested interest in the joint arrangement. Some of the areas covered by the contractual arrangement are: number one, the activity of the joint arrangement, the duration of the joint arrangement, and the reporting obligation of the joint arrangement. Jadi yang ni kena ada, activity. What are the activities of the joint arrangement? How long is the duration, and who is going to report? Who is going to prepare the annual ataupun the financial statement? Number two, the appointment of the board of directors or equivalent governing body and voting rights of the venturers. Okay, the appointment of the board of directors. Who will be the members of board of directors? Adakah semua pihak akan diwakili oleh board of directors? Okay. Kemudian yang ketiga, the decision making process such as voting rights, matters requiring decision by the parties, and the required level of support for those matters. Number four, capital or other contribution by the parties. And number five, manner of sharing among the parties, the joint arrangement asset, liabilities, revenue, expenses, profits or losses. So yang itu, walaupun diletakkan di bawah sekali, tapi itulah yang paling penting. Okay? Itulah yang paling penting sekali apabila kita nak bisnes, kita nak cerita tentang paling penting sekali adalah profit or loss. Okay? Paling penting sekali adalah profit or loss. Jadi, item-item tu perlu ada. Perlu ada di dalam as one of the important items. Okay, and then B, the contractual arrangement give two or more of the parties joint control of the arrangement. Jadi kalau katakan dia kata macam tadi dia katakan, joint arrangement will be involving two or more parties. So that two or more parties will have joint control of the arrangement. Jadi kalau kita kata joint control, maknanya all parties will involve in the arrangement. Will involve in controlling the arrangement. Okay. Jadi joint arrangement ada dua jenis. Ada dua jenis. Yang pertamanya kita panggil joint control. Joint control. Joint control exists where the parties contractually agree to share control and decisions about relevant activities of the joint arrangement have the unanimous consent of all the parties sharing control. The parties have to assess the extent to which the parties should act together to direct the activities that significantly affect the returns of the joint arrangement. Okay, masuk joint control, all parties in the arrangement agree to share the control. All parties agree to share the control. And any activities must be getting unanimous consent. Persetujuan semua pihak. Persetujuan semua pihak. Jadi tidak ada satu pihak pun yang ditinggalkan untuk mencapai satu-satu persetujuan. Itu kita panggil joint control. And then no single party controls the arrangement on its own, but a party to joint control can prevent the other parties from controlling the arrangement. Ini syarat yang kedua lah. No single party control the arrangement. Kita dah setuju all parties will share the control. So it means there is no single party that control the arrangement. Okay. Tetapi kalau katakan ada satu pihak yang cuba untuk menguasai sendirian, dia cuba nak menguasai on its own, but a party to joint control can prevent the other parties from controlling the arrangement. Jadi maknanya tidak ada satu pihak yang boleh mengawal secara bersendirian, melainkan kawalan tadi berlaku secara bersama-sama. Kalau ada cubaan untuk menguasai secara sendirian, pihak yang lain boleh prevent other parties from controlling the arrangement. Okay, kita teruskan lagi dengan joint control. There could be parties that do not have joint control. There could be parties that do not have control. For example, 4 parties have interest in the joint arrangement. 3 of the 4 parties have joint control and 1 does not have. The party that does not have joint control is a party that participate but no joint control. Yang ni boleh berlaku. Boleh berlaku. Kita kata tadi parties contractually agree to share the control. Yang ni pula they agree to share the control, but there will be one party not involved in controlling the joint arrangement. Tetapi dekat situ ada persetujuan lah. Dipersetujui oleh pihak yang tak ada kuasa tadi. Dipersetujui lah. Dia setuju, bukan dia tidak bersetuju. For example, 4 parties have an interest in a joint arrangement. 3 of the 4 parties have joint control and 1 does not have joint control. The party that does not have joint control is a party that participate. It can participate but has no joint control. Example of joint control. A has 40% interest, B 30% interest, and C 30% interest are parties to an arrangement. The contractual agreement between the three is that at least 80% voting rights are required to make decisions about the relevant activities of the arrangement. In this case, all 3 have joint control as all 3 have to agree on the decision. Okay, how we can say this? Okay, the decision must get at 80%. Must get at least 80%. So when we combine A and B, A plus B, 40 plus 30 is only 70%. So you cannot make decision. If you add together B plus C, 30 plus T, 30 plus 30 is only 60%. You cannot make decision. A plus C, 40% plus 30%, 70%. You cannot make decision. Because decision must be done at least by 80% of the voting rights. So, you have no choice. You have no choice. You must involve the 3 parties. Because when you join together the 3 parties, it is more than 80%. And in fact, it is 100%. 100% interest. Okay. So this is example of joint control yang ia melibatkan semua pihak. The second, so joint control control arrangement agree between the this in a sense is a joint of the structure of joint arrangement. Number one is the joint arrangement is not structured to a separate entity. To a separate entity. Maknanya not through a separate entity. Apa maknanya? Maknanya dia tak perlu menubuhkan satu entity.
Sorry sir,
Kalau katakan
suara sir
ada
lag
tiga
sikit.
pihak, ya,
Suara sir lag sikit.
lagging, lag lag. Lag maknanya lambat.
Lag tadi. Dia putus-putus.
Okay. Mungkin internet lain is not good. Sekejapnya. Dah lama ke lagging tu?
Tadi lama juga. Putus-putus.
Ya, so kita pergi kepada diagram ni. Saya ulang balik ya, structure of joint arrangement. So structure of joint arrangement, it can be structured, it can be not structured. Jadi kalau kita kata not structured, maknanya kita tak perlu nak tubuhkan satu company baru. Katakan kita ada company tadi A, B dan C, kita tak perlu tubuhkan satu company baru. Ya, kita cuma join dari segi aktiviti. Kita perlu join activity saja. Kita tak perlu tubuhkan satu company baru. So yang itu dikenali sebagai joint operation. Okay, dikenali sebagai joint operation. Tapi kalau yang kedua pula, dia punya joint arrangement tadi adalah structured. Structured to a separate vehicle. Structured to a separate vehicle. Jadi maknanya kita tubuhkan satu company baru. Kita tubuhkan satu company baru yang mana company A, B dan C tadi menjadi shareholders kepada company baru. Okay. An entity shall consider the legal form of the separate entity. Okay, jadi separate entity tadi, it could be a company or it could be other types of business. Okay. B, the terms of the contractual arrangement and C, when relevant, other text. Okay. Jadi walaupun kita tubuhkan satu entiti baru, okay, walaupun kita tubuhkan satu entiti baru, boleh jadi dia masih lagi dikira sebagai joint operation. Tetapi pada kebiasaannya, apabila kita tubuhkan satu company baru, maka joint arrangement tadi dikenali sebagai joint venture. Kebiasaan joint venture, walaupun kadang-kadang boleh jadi juga dia masih lagi dikira sebagai joint operation. Okay. Masih lagging lagi?
Sir, saya punya slide yang tak change.
Dekat structure tu tadi.
Saya punya slide dekat joint control example 2.
Suara awak pun saya tak berapa dengar, macam apa ni juga. Putus-putus. Ulang balik, boleh ulang balik tak?
Saya punya slide tak ubah daripada example 2 of joint control.
Oh, tak berubah daripada example 2. Sekarang?
Tak juga.
Tidak bergerak? Masih example 2?
Belum lagi, sir.
Okey, saya apa ni, keluar daripada share itu, kemudian kejap ya. And show. Okay, bila internet problem macam ni. Okay. Kita cancel share. Kita share balik. Okay, can you see now? Diagram to aid in assessing joint control. Ada tak? Bertukar tak?
Dekat saya tak keluar gambar lagi tu.
Tak nampak.
Tak ada gambar.
Ada. Tak tahu lah internet lain ni. Sekejap ya. Tak keluar gambar. Ensure. Klik pula ya, sekejap. Kadang-kadang jadi macam ni. Sekarang ni tak nampak gambar apa-apa. Ke saya nampak tak?
Picture pun
Belum, sir.
saya tak nampak.
Tak nampak muka. Jadi macam tak ada orang bercakap dengan suara je
Yes.
Sir.
Itu lagi pelik Okey. Gambar saya pun tak ada, cuma suara, lepas tu suara lagging. Okey, kita tengok sekejap lagi. Okey, saya cuba share lagi. Bagi tahulah ya, kalau nampak bagi tahu nampak, tak nampak bagi tahu juga. Nampak tak sekarang ni?
Belum.
Belum ya. Okey, ataupun saya keluar dulu sekejap, lepas tu saya masuk balik dalam Meet ni ya. Okey, saya leave sekejap. Okay, saya share semula. Ada tak muka saya kat situ?
Nampak je.
Okay, nampak yang ni?
Nampak.
Okay. Okay. So saya akan explain semula yang ni. Okay, diagram to aid in assessing joint control. Jadi kita ada structure. When we talk about structure, it can be structured, it can be not structured. Okay. If not structured, maknanya investor tadi tidak perlu menubuhkan satu entiti baru. So company A, company B, company C tadi tak perlu tubuhkan satu company baru untuk joint arrangement. Jadi memadai dengan company yang sedia ada. So dia akan agihkanlah tugasan. Dia akan agihkan tugasan. Jadi mungkin tugasan tadi company A akan buat aktiviti A, company B buat aktiviti B, company C buat aktiviti C. Okay, so dia masih lagi dikira sebagai joint arrangement, tetapi that particular joint arrangement is actually joint operation. Okay, fall under category of joint operation. Sebab dia tak perlu nak tubuhkan satu company baru ataupun entiti baru. Kemudian joint arrangement yang kedua adalah structured through a separate entity. Structured through a separate entity. Maknanya dekat situ ada satu entiti baru yang ditubuhkan. It can be in the form of company. So, company A, company B, company C tadi, they form a new company and they become the shareholders of this new company. Become shareholders of the three of the company. So 3 tadi mungkin 30%, 30%, 40%. Ataupun 33.33, 33.33, 33.33. Ataupun 20, 30, 20, 30, 50. Boleh juga. Okay. Structured to a separate entity. An entity shall consider the legal form of the separate entity. Jadi kena tengoklah dia tubuhkan apa. Adakah ditubuhkan satu company, limited liability company, ataupun ditubuhkan a partnership, ataupun ditubuhkan sole proprietorship. Secondly, the term of the contractual arrangement. Dia kena tentukan. Entiti baru ni yang menentukan. Kalau kita tengok kat situ, an entity shall consider the legal form of the separate entity, and then the terms of the contractual arrangement, and when relevant other facts. So banyak perkara lah bila kita tubuhkan satu company baru. Siapa nak jadi members of the board of directors, shareholders dia berapa persen, pembahagian keuntungan macam mana dan sebagainya. So untuk itu, untuk yang ada form a new vehicle ataupun new company ni kita panggil joint venture. Okay, kita panggil joint venture. Tapi kadang-kadang dia tak nak joint venture tadi, dia masih nak kekal dia sebagai joint operation walaupun tubuhkan satu entiti. Tetapi kadang-kadang lah, hanya berlaku kadang-kadang. Dalam banyak keadaan dia akan jadi joint venture. Okay. Seterusnya, type of joint arrangement. So joint arrangement, there are two types of joint arrangement. Number one is joint operation. Number two is joint venture. Kita tengok dalam diagram tadi ada joint operation dan joint venture. What is joint venture? What is joint operation? What is joint venture? The classification as to whether the joint arrangement is a joint operation or joint venture depends on the rights and obligation of the parties to the arrangement. Jadi dia bergantung kepada hak dan tanggungjawab ataupun hak dan obligation, tanggungjawab lah. Hak dan tanggungjawab of the parties to the arrangement. Maknanya hak dan tanggungjawab A, B dan C. Apakah hak dia, apakah tanggungjawab dia? The terms of the contractual arrangement are crucial in deciding whether it is a joint operation or joint venture. Jadi sebelum kita tentukan, dia ni joint operation ataupun dia ni joint venture, kita kena lihat kepada terms yang dipersetujui oleh pihak-pihak yang berkepentingan tadi. Okey. Pihak-pihak yang berkepentingan tadi akan dipanggil sebagai joint venturer. Joint venturer. Okay. So the venturer determines the type of joint arrangement it is involved in. Venturer ni adalah 3 company ataupun 4 company tadi. A, B, C ataupun ABC tadi. ABCD determine the type of joint arrangement it involved in it. Jadi dia yang menentukan. Tapi pihak-pihak tadi tu, A dengan B dengan C dengan D tadi, ya, dengan persetujuan mereka tu, dia akan tentukan sama ada dia nak jadi joint operation ataupun nak jadi joint venture. Okay. MFRS 11 includes a table of issues that aid in classifying the joint arrangement as a joint operation or joint venture. Tapi kan, bukan semua venturer ni dia tahu dan faham tentang MFRS 11 ni. Jadi venturer ni bukan semua venturer dia faham. Venturer ni dia tahu nak bisnes, dia tahu nak berniaga, tetapi dia tak tahu dia ni sebenarnya involved dalam apa, joint operation ataupun joint venture. Jadi untuk memudahkan dia decide, oh actually we are a joint operation, actually we are joint venture, kita lihat table ni. Jadi MFRS 11 provide this table for the venturer to decide, to make decision whether they are actually joint operation or joint venture. Okay, so number one is the terms of contractual arrangement. For joint operation, the parties to the arrangement have rights to the assets and obligation for the liabilities relating to the arrangement. The parties to the arrangement, A, B, C, D, have rights to the assets and obligations for the liabilities relating to the arrangement. Apa maksudnya have right to asset? Dia mempunyai hak terhadap aset-aset yang ada dalam joint operation tu. Maknanya aset-aset yang mereka kendalikan secara bersama tu, masing-masing mempunyai hak terhadap aset, masing-masing mempunyai hak terhadap liabilities. Masing-masing mempunyai hak terhadap aset dan juga terhadap liabilities. Apa maksudnya? Jadi kalau dia bawa masuk dalam arrangement tu sebuah mesin, jadi dia ada hak terhadap mesin tadi. Kalau mesin tadi diperolehi dengan cara meminjam duit, maka dia ada tanggungan terhadap obligation tu. So, hak kepada mesin tadi di tangan dia dan tanggungjawab untuk membayar pinjaman pun di tangan dia. Walaupun dia ni di dalam satu kumpulan yang dipanggil sebagai joint operation. Okay. Kemudian company B pula dia bawa masuk sebuah kereta. Jadi kereta tadi di bawah hak dia dan tanggungjawab untuk membayar hutang kereta tadi adalah dia juga. Dan satu pihak lagi dia sediakan sebuah bangunan. Jadi bangunan itu tadi adalah hak dia, pada masa yang sama tanggungjawab untuk membayar hutang bangunan tadi adalah dia. Nampak tak? Itu joint operation. Joint operation. Siapa yang membawa, itulah yang menanggung. Itulah yang memiliki dan itulah yang menanggung. Berbeza dengan joint venture, in joint venture, the parties to the arrangement have rights to the net asset. Have rights to the net asset, not to the asset per se. Bukan kepada aset secara individu, tetapi kepada net asset. Kepada net asset. Jadi maknanya dia akan totalkan asset, dia akan totalkan liability, dia hanya ada hak terhadap net asset. Maknanya bukan hak terhadap aset secara individu. Kereta tadi, mesin tadi, bangunan tadi, bukan. Tetapi secara keseluruhan, secara bersama. The separate vehicle that has the right to the asset and obligation for the liabilities relating to the arrangement. Jadi siapa yang ada hak sebenar kepada aset dan juga kepada liability, dia adalah vehicle yang ditubuhkan tadi, iaitu company itu. Company yang ditubuhkan tu dialah yang mempunyai hak terhadap aset tadi secara satu persatu dan juga tanggungan kepada liability secara satu persatu. Faham tak yang ni? Perbezaan yang pertama.
Faham.
Okey. Cuba explain sikit kalau faham. Joint operation tadi.
Joint operation tu aset tu kalau diorang bawa, diorang punya. Dan tanggungan hutang tu pun diorang yang kena tanggung.
Untuk joint venture?
total net asset tu yang diorang ada hak dekat atas total net asset, bukan asset tu sendiri.
Jadi siapakah yang mempunyai hak terhadap aset dan juga tanggungan dalam joint venture?
Legal.
Company yang ditubuhkan tadi. Company yang ditubuhkan tadilah yang mempunyai hak terhadap aset tadi satu persatu dan juga liability tadi satu persatu. Ada beza di antara joint operation dan joint venture. Dalam joint operation, the venturer tu dia mempunyai hak terhadap aset dan juga tanggungan kepada liability. Manakala dalam joint venture pula, venturer dia hanya ada hak terhadap net asset. Dia ada hak terhadap net asset. Jadi bila kata hak terhadap net asset, maknanya dah merangkumi asset dan liability. Manakala yang ada hak dan tanggungjawab terhadap aset dan liability tadi adalah company yang ditubuhkan tu. Company yang ditubuhkan. Okey. Yang kedua, rights to asset. Ini baru detail dia, right to assets. Untuk joint operation, right to asset, the parties to the arrangement share all the interests. That is, rights, title of ownership in the asset relating to the arrangement in a specified proportion. For example, in proportion to parties' ownership interest in the arrangement or in proportion to the activity carried out through the arrangement that is directly attributed to them. Okey, macam saya explain tadi, kalau katakan dia yang bawa aset tu, dialah bertanggungjawab, dialah mempunyai hak dan juga tanggungjawab. Itu betul. Dan kalau katakan dia beli sama-sama. Dia beli sama-sama. Tadi dia bawa. Kalau katakan dia beli sama-sama. Dia beli sama-sama, so apakah hak dia, apakah tanggungjawab dia? Ada kemungkinan hak dia adalah berdasarkan kepada percentage of ownership dalam company tadi. Kan? Dia kata rights, title or ownership in the asset relating to the arrangement in a specified proportion. Specified proportion makna percentage yang tertentu. For example, in proportion to the parties' ownership interest. Jadi kalau 30-40, maka dia punya hak dia terhadap aset tadi adalah 30-40. Begitu juga dengan liability, 30-40. Okey, jadi maknanya dia ada hak dan tanggungjawab terhadap aset dan liability. Aset betul, liability betul. Tetapi bagi joint venture tadi, dia ada hak terhadap net asset. Maknanya net asset tadi merangkumi aset tolak liability. Manakala yang berhak dan bertanggungjawab kepada aset yang sebenar dan liability sebenar adalah company yang ditubuhkan. Okey, manakala rights to the asset untuk joint venture tadi, the asset brought into the arrangement or subsequently acquired by the joint arrangement are the arrangement asset. Jadi aset tu bukan dimiliki oleh investor, bukan dimiliki oleh venturer, tetapi dia adalah dimiliki oleh arrangements asset. Arrangement ni merujuk kepada vehicle tadi, vehicle asset. The parties have no interest. There is no right, title or ownership in the asset of the arrangement. Jadi siapakah yang memiliki aset tadi? Yang memiliki aset tadi adalah vehicle yang ditubuhkan ataupun company yang ditubuhkan tadi, dan bukan pelabur ataupun venturer. Okay, kita tengok seterusnya. Obligation for liabilities. For joint operation, the parties to the arrangement share all the liabilities, obligation, costs and expenses in a specified proportion. Okay. For example, in proportion to the parties' ownership interest in the arrangement or in proportion to the activity carried out through the arrangement that is directly attributed to them. Yang ni sama dengan yang tadilah, sama dengan aset tadi yang bergantung kepada percentage of interest contohnya. Ataupun kalau dia yang bawa masuk tadi, saya kata dia yang bawa masuk aset tadi, maka dialah yang bertanggungjawab. Okay, manakala joint venture pula, the joint arrangement is liable for the debts and obligation of the arrangement. The company that has been established is liable for debts and obligation of the arrangement. The parties are liable to the arrangement to the extent of their respective investment, their obligation to contribute any unpaid additional capital or both. Jadi sama dengan investor yang biasa. Okay. Liability of the venturer. Liability of the venturer is up to the the amount of investment they promise. Ya, the amount of investment they promise. Kalau dia kata dia nak contribute 30% daripada ordinary share. So kalau ordinary share tadi totally 1 million, jadi dia akan contribute setakat 30%, iaitu 300,000. Kemudian kalau berlaku obligation, the obligation to contribute any unpaid or additional capital. Jadi kalau dia belum langsaikan lagi 30% tadi ataupun 300,000 tadi, so liability dia up to that amount. Liability up to that amount, that is 300,000. Okay, kat sini joint operation, the parties to the arrangement are liable for claims raised by third parties. Manakala dalam joint venture, creditors of the arrangement do not have right of recourse against any party for debts or obligation of the arrangement. Nampak perbezaan dia? Revenue and expenses pula. Untuk joint operation, the contractual arrangement establishes the allocation of revenue and expenses on the basis of the performance of each party. For example, revenue and expenses may be allocated on the basis of the capacity that each party uses in a plant operated jointly regardless of ownership interest. In some cases, revenue and expenses may be allocated in a specified proportion. Jadi untuk joint operation tadi, revenue tadi akan diagihkan mengikut apakah aktiviti yang kita buat. Ya, apakah aktiviti yang kita buat. On the basis of performance of each party. Okay. Dan boleh juga dalam keadaan tertentu, dia agihkan dia punya keuntungan. Maknanya keuntungan ni bermula dengan revenue, expenses, revenue, cost, expenses, tax, semua tu diagihkan. Mengikut cara apa? On the basis of the capacity that each party uses in a plant operated jointly. Regardless ownership interest. Okay, kemudian untuk joint venture, the contractual arrangement establishes each party's share in the profit or loss relating to the activities of the arrangement. Okay, jadi dalam contractual agreement ataupun arrangement untuk joint venture ni, apa bahagian dia macam mana? Establishes each parties share in the profit or loss relating to the activities of the arrangement. Okay, jadi maknanya keuntungan tadi diagihkan bagaimana? Keuntungan diagihkan bagaimana? Mengikut percentage of interest. Jadi kalau dalam joint venture ni, dia macam associate tadi lah. Kalau dia hold 30%, maka apabila company ni dia make profit, so 30% will be shared by that particular investor. Kemudian kalau percentage dia adalah 40%, dia akan share 40% of the profit. Okay. Kemudian last sekali adalah guarantees. The provision of guarantees to third parties or the commitment by the parties is not a determining factor. Jadi maknanya guarantee ini tidak, guarantee bukanlah sesuatu yang menjadi faktor untuk menentukan tentang apa? Menentukan tentang berapa banyak profit nak diagihkan kepada company A, company B, company C. Okey. Jadi secara umumnya inilah table yang perlu dilihat oleh sesiapa ataupun mana-mana company yang nak menubuhkan satu joint arrangement. Jadi dia kena tahu dia ni yang mana satu, joint operation ataupun joint venture. Jadi soalan-soalan ini tentang joint operation ataupun joint venture ni dia popular untuk ditanya masa soalan group project, group project 1 dan juga soalan final exam lah. Soalan ni popular lah untuk ditanya. Okay. So kita teruskan dengan joint operation. The operation can be structured either through a separate entity or no separate vehicle entity established. Jadi kita balik semula kepada sini. Kan kita nampak sama ada dia tubuhkan satu company baru ataupun tak tubuhkan company baru, dia boleh jadi joint operation. Ya, boleh jadi joint operation. In a joint operation, the venturers called joint operators have right to asset and obligation to the liabilities of the arrangement. In joint operation, the operators will recognize in their own financial statement their interest in the assets, liabilities, revenue and expenses to the joint arrangement. Okay, jadi sebagai joint operator, and sebagai joint operator, you akan share, you akan share joint operation punya asset, liabilities, revenue and expenses. Maknanya kalau katakan telah ditentukan you punya adalah 30%. So 30% daripada revenue you akan masukkan dalam revenue of your company. Kemudian 30% of the cost akan masuk dalam cost of your company. 30% of the expenses akan masuk dalam expenses of your company. 30% of the tax akan masuk dalam tax of your company. Maknanya you punya company akan ada revenue, expenses, tax yang you punya sendiri campur dengan joint operation punya revenue, cost, expenses dan taxation. Begitu juga dengan asset dan liability. So asset dan liability of your company will be added with 30% of the asset of the joint operation and 30% of the liabilities of the joint operation. Itu maksudnya. Okay. So katakan kita ada 3 joint operators, 30, 35, 35. Kemudian joint operation punya result, revenue 100,000, expenses 70,000, asset 100,000, liabilities 50,000. So macam mana kita nak bagi? Akan bagi mengikut percentage di atas. Jadi 30,000 of the revenue belong to A, 35,000 belong to B, 35,000 belong to C. Expenses 70,000 begitu juga. Time 30%, time 35%, time 35%. Asset begitu juga. Time 30, time 35, time 35. Dan juga liabilities, time 30%, time 35%, time 35%. Okay, ini adalah example untuk joint operation. 3 friends decide to buy, recondition and sell second hand cars. Menarik Okay. 3 orang kawan mengambil keputusan untuk membeli, untuk recondition. Recondition ni maknanya dia memulihkan. Recondition and sell second hand car. Ada 3 aktiviti. Satu pihak akan beli, satu pihak akan recondition, satu pihak akan jual. One party may source for old cars. Another party repairs and reconditions, and the third party undertake the selling process. So ini joint operation. Kerja lain-lain ni. Satu pihak beli saja. Beli kereta second hand, pihak yang kedua repair and recondition, pihak yang ketiga jual saja. Jadi daripada banyak-banyak ni siapa yang kerja paling teruk sekali? Kita rasa yang kerja paling teruk sekali adalah repair and recondition. Tapi mungkin dia rasa okey je. Kita yang nampak ni macam kita rasa macam penat lah macam tu. Beli dengan jual tu macam senang. Sebenarnya bukan senang untuk beli, juga bukan senang untuk jual. Kalau senang nak jual-jual ni, ramai orang jadi salesman kan. Jadi itulah tugas dia. At the end of the reporting period, a memorandum statement of comprehensive income may be prepared to determine the share of profit of each venturer. In the separate financial statement and in consolidated financial statement of the operator, will have to disclose the assets it controls and the liabilities it incurs, together with its share of revenue and expenses it incurs in relation to the joint venture. Okey. Jadi katalah kos membeli 40,000. Beli kereta 40,000. Kemudian recondition, repair dan baik pulih 20,000. Okey. Kos untuk menjual 10,000. Kos untuk menjual 10,000. Harga jualan 90,000. Ya, harga jualan 90,000. Kita beli pada harga 40,000, lepas tu repair and recondition 20,000, upah jualan 10,000. So revenue 90,000. Jadi berapa net profit? Net profit kita adalah revenue minus purchase 40,000 minus cost of recondition 20,000 minus selling cost 10,000. The net profit is 20,000. So macam mana kita nak agihkan 20,000 tadi kepada tiga pihak tadi? Okay, kita boleh agihkan mengikut aktiviti yang mereka telah buat. Okay. Mengikut aktiviti yang mereka telah buat lah. Itu persetujuan mereka macam mana nak agihkan. Okay, masing-masing akan agihkan mengikut pembahagian kos tadi. Ya, yang mana untuk beli tadi 40,000. Ya, recondition 20,000 dan sell 10,000. Jadi keseluruhan kos adalah 70,000. So berkemungkinan untuk pihak yang beli tadi dia akan dapat keuntungan dia 40/70 kali 20. Untuk pihak yang kedua ni 20/70 kali 20. Untuk yang ketiga ni adalah 10/70 kali 20. Itulah pembahagian keuntungan. Pembahagian keuntungan Okey, masih lagi tentang joint operation. A common arrangement is the use by the operators for a common asset, such as a gas pipeline. A few companies may jointly operate an oil pipeline to transport their own oil. Jadi ini cerita tentang oil and gas. Oil and gas company dekat Malaysia ni, company besar-besar oil and gas. Kita ada Petronas, kita ada Shell, kita ada BHP, kita ada Petron. Itulah yang selalu nampak. Ada saya pergi dekat Negeri Sembilan tu ada company baru iaitu FIBE, FIBE. Okey, tapi itu mungkin tak berapa besar sangat. Yang besarnya Petronas, Shell, Petron dan juga BHP. Okey. So macam mana kita nak buat joint operation? Katakan tiga company tadi dia berkongsi satu pipeline untuk transport dia punya oil. So kalau tiga company, mungkin dia boleh agihkan kepada 3 masa. Daripada 7 pagi hingga 3 petang satu company, 7 petang hingga 11 malam satu company, 11 malam hingga 7 pagi company satu lagi. Mungkin in between tu dia ada break lah 1 hour supaya tidak bercampur minyak dia. Okay, jadi kos untuk transportation menggunakan pipeline tadi akan dikongsi. In the separate financial statement and in the consolidated financial statement of the operators will have to disclose its share of the jointly controlled asset, liabilities it has incurred, and share of revenue and share of expenses. Okay, now we go to the second type of joint arrangement, that is joint venture. This form of joint venture involves the establishment of a separate entity, which could be a company, partnership, or any form of entity. Okay. Jadi joint venture ni syaratnya kena tubuhkan separate entity. The entity set up operates as a separate business operation, except that the venturers have joint control over the joint venture. Okay. Dan vehicle tadi, vehicle ataupun company baru yang ditubuhkan tadi dikenali sebagai joint venture. So siapakah yang menguasai joint venture tadi? Yang menguasainya adalah company A, company B, company C, yang dikenali sebagai venturers. So the venturers have joint control over the joint venture. The joint venture will have its own set of accounts and prepare its own set of financial statement. The venturers are entitled to a share of the result of the joint venture. For the venturer, its contribution to the joint venture will be disclosed as investment, and for the joint venture, the contribution made by the venturer are capital contribution. Jadi bagi venturer, bagi pelabur, okay, dia akan mencatatkan di dalam statement of financial position sebagai investment in joint venture. Manakala bagi joint venture pula, dia akan catatkan investment made by the venturer as capital. Capital, debit, cash, credit, capital ataupun credit ordinary share. For example, if a company was established as a joint venture, the share capital will be contributed by the venturers, and the share capital in the joint venture will be held by individual venturer, which will be disclosed as investment in separate financial statement. In their own financial statement, the venturers are to disclose their interest in the joint venture as financial asset and measured in compliance with MFRS 139. The venturer is to account for the interest in the joint venture in the separate financial statement, which is not held for sale, at cost or in accordance with MFRS 139 at fair value. In the consolidated financial statement, the venturer has to apply equity method in accordance to MFRS 128. Okay, investment in associate and joint venture. Okay, class. Jadi, accounting for joint venture is similar to accounting for associate. So, we are using equity method for that purpose. Okay. So, sekarang ni kita ada satu example. Sebelum habis slide ni, kita ada satu example lah. Joint arrangement. So, the example is about Polo and another company, CP. Polo and CP. So, what happened to Polo and CP? Polo is a company mainly involved in building construction. The company now is looking to diversify its business activities into publishing business and had entered into an arrangement with Content Publishing, CP, a public listed company, on 1st January 2014. The agreement stated that CP to provide content for a range of books and online publication. In return, CP is entitled to a royalty calculated at 20% of sales. So, tugas CP ni senang je. To provide content for books and online publication. Dan dia akan dapat royalty sebanyak 20%. So, tugas dia tak banyak dan dia punya pendapatan terus dapat saja 20% of sales. Jadi dia tak akan dapat yang lain-lain lah. 20% of sale tadi dia akan dapat terus lah. Bila berlaku jualan saja dia akan dapat 20% of sale. Polo pula Polo on the other hand has sole responsibility for all printing, binding and platform maintenance of the online website and bear related costs. Jadi Polo ni selain daripada apa yang dibuat oleh CP, semuanya dibuat oleh Polo. Segala perbelanjaan dibayar oleh Polo dan baki kepada keuntungan dimiliki oleh Polo. Okay. The agreement states that key strategic sales and marketing decision must be agreed jointly. Polo selects the content to be covered in the publication, but CP has the right to veto over this content. Jadi Polo ni dia pun boleh pilih lah, tetapi keputusan akhirnya akan dibuat oleh CP. However, after a few months in operation with the arrangement, both companies, Polo and CP, noticed that a few operation issues are not easily to be managed. Sekejap ya. Maknanya bukan senang, bukan senang. However, after a few months in operation with the arrangement, both companies, Polo and CP, noticed that a few operation issues are not easily to be managed. Therefore, they had decided on 1st June 2014. Dimula bila 1 Januari 2014. And then on 1st June 2014, to set up a separate legal entity named as JCP with equal shares and voting rights. CP continues to contribute content into JCP but does not receive royalties. Follow continues the printing, binding and platform maintenance job. Kerja-kerja dia masih sama macam dulu, tetapi kali ini 50-50. Ya, 50-50. Okay. The sales and cost of sales of JCP for the period of 1st January 2014 to 31st December 2014 were 12 million and 8 million respectively. Required, assume that the sales and costs accrue evenly throughout the year, calculate the related amount to be recognized, and prepare related journal entries in Polo's book for the above arrangement in the year ended 31st December 2014. So from this question, okay, do you understand the situation? Yeah, do you understand the situation? First, they become joint operation. First, they become joint operation starting from 1st January 2014 until 31st May 2014. Joint operation. Starting from 1st June, it become joint venture. Okay. Jadi sekarang ni tugas kita adalah to calculate the related amount to be recognized and prepare related journal entries in Polo's book for the above arrangement in the year ended 31st December 2014. Okay, let's look at the next page. Okay, solution in the next page. So, for the first 5 months, it is a joint operation. So, in the book of Polo, in the book of Polo ni, for the first 5 months, it is based on the accounting treatment is based on agreement. Okay, based on agreement. Whereas from 1st June up to 31st December, the accounting treatment will be based on equity method. Okay, so for the period of 5 months, starting from January to May 2014, okay, the total sale for the 5 months is 5 million. Yeah? Total sale for the 5 months is 5 million. For the 7 months is 7 million. Okay. And then the cost of sale is 8 million. For the 5 months is 3.33 million. And for the 7 months is 4.67 million. Okay. So we can see that for the 5 months, the joint operation is having a sale of 5.0 million for the 5 months. And the cost of sale is 3.33 million. So out of this 5 million, 1 million will be given to CP because CP is entitled for 20% royalty. Yeah, CP is entitled for 20% royalty. So how are we going to record in the book of Polo? In the book of Polo will record debit trade receivable 4 million and credit sale 4 million. Jadi Polo dapat sale sebanyak 4 million, manakala CP dia dapat sale sebanyak 1 million. 1 million net. Okay. What about the cost of sale? The cost of sale of Polo is 100% cost of sale, that is 3.33 million. Debit cost of sale, credit, trade, payables sebanyak 3.33 million. So that is in the book of Polo. Okay. Jadi sekarang ni bila kita tolakkan dia punya sale 4 million dengan cost of sale 3.33 million, maknanya Polo ni dia hanya dapat profit. Dia hanya dapat gross profit sebanyak 0.67 juta. 0.67 juta dia dapat dia punya gross profit 0.67 juta. Macam mana dapat? 4 juta tolak dengan 3.33 juta. Manakala CP pula dia dapat net 1 juta. Kan? CP dapat 1 juta daripada sale. Manakala Polo pula dia hanya dapat gross profit sebanyak 0.67. Okay. That is for the first 5 months. What about for the next 7 months? For the next 7 months, for the next 7 months, we are going to record based on equity method. Therefore, we see the sales for the 7 months is 7 million and the cost of sale is 4.67 million and gross profit is 2.33 million. Out of this 2.33 million, out of this 2.33 million, it will be allocated to both companies 50-50. Okay, 50-50. So, what we are going to do in the book of Polo, we are going to debit investment in joint venture by 50% of this profit, 2.33. So, debit investment in joint venture, 1.17. Debit share of profit of from joint venture company, 1.17. Okay, jadi mana yang lebih baik di antara joint operation dengan joint venture di sini? Dari segi operasi, dari segi keuntungan, mana lebih baik untuk Polo?
Joint venture.
Joint venture lebih baik lah. Lebih baik dan lebih telus lagi lah. Kita nampak untuk 7 bulan dia dapat profit sebanyak 1.17. Manakala untuk masa joint operation tu dia dapat 0.67 untuk 5 bulan. Ya, manakala satu pihak lagi CP dia dapat 1 juta. Kan macam tak fair kan? Jadi sebab itulah nasib baiklah dua-dua pihak ni dia bersetuju untuk berunding semula untuk menukar dia punya joint arrangement dia daripada joint operation kepada joint venture. Okey, boleh faham ni?
Boleh ke?
Okey. So, kalau boleh faham maknanya next time kita akan tengok pula kepada yang berikutnya lah. Kita akan tengok example dalam Excel. Example dalam Excel. Mungkin kita boleh tengok sekejap. Tak banyak lah kita boleh tengok. Kita tengok sekejap. Okey. Okey, kita akan tengok sikit example ni. Okey. Example ni datangnya daripada example 3 in page 518 dalam buku ya. Example 3, okey, muka surat telah berubah. Muka surat telah berubah dalam buku. Example 3 adalah example 3, muka surat 514. Surat 514. Example 3 muka surat 514. Okey, apa yang ada di sini? Kita ada statement of financial position dan statement of profit or loss. Kita ada masa dalam lebih kurang 7 minit. Kita tengok dulu. Okey, kalau tak habis pun kita akan sambung dalam kelas yang akan datang. Kita tengok di sini. Okey. H has a direct interest in A of 25%. H ada direct interest in A 25%. Jadi A ni adalah dikenali sebagai associate sebab percentage dia adalah 20% and more. Berapakah dia punya consideration transfer? 200,000. Retained profit on the date of acquisition 120,000. ARR 100,000. Okay. Kemudian detail of the statement of financial position of the two companies. Okay, kita ada kat sini. Ordinary shares of H 1 million. Ordinary shares of S ataupun A 400,000. Itu dia ada retained profit 120,000. Jadi untuk yang 120,000 ni kita tengok di sini. On the date of acquisition, retained profit dia 120. Sekarang pun 120. Okay. Tapi 120 ni adalah retained profit pada tarikh 1 Januari 20X7. Jadi betul lah sama dengan ni. 1 Januari 20X7. Okay. And then profit after tax for the year is 100,000. Kemudian ada ARR kat situ dan juga ada ARR masa tu 100. ARR 100 dan ARR sekarang adalah 150. Ada pertambahan sebanyak 50. Next. Okay, kita tengok investment in A. Investment in A 200. Tapi kita kena ingat ni investment in associate, bukan investment in subsidiary. Okay. Kemudian kita ada statement of profit or loss for the year ended 31 December 2007 for the two companies. Ada revenue, ada cost of sale, ada dividend income from associate. Jadi kita kena highlightkan. Ada expenses, ada tax, kemudian sampai kepada profit after tax dan ada juga ARR. ARR untuk ARR ni untuk company yang kedua tadi adalah associate lah. Ya. Kemudian ada dividend paid. Okay, dividend paid. Kemudian ada unrealized profit dan ada impairment of investment. Okay, unrealized profit ni adalah unrealized profit yang dibuat oleh H dan juga impairment of investment H. Okay. Jadi sekarang ni apa kita nak buat? First adalah to calculate the goodwill. Jadi kita tengok macam mana kita nak calculate goodwill untuk associate. Adakah calculation of goodwill untuk associate ni sama dengan subsidiary? Jawapan dia tak sama. Okay. So to calculate the goodwill of associate, kita akan letakkan di sini consideration transferred. That is only 25%. Kita letakkan 200,000. Okay, 200,000. Kemudian kita compare dengan fair value of investment. Fair value of net asset acquired. So fair value of net asset acquired, share capital tadi ada 400,000, retain earning 120,000 dan ARR ada 100,000. Total ni adalah 620,000. This 620,000 we multiply with 25% because investment in associate is only 25%. Jadi berapakah fair value of net asset yang kita acquire? We acquire 155,000. Ya, 155,000. Okey, dalam calculation of goodwill untuk subsidiary, kita tak perlu kali dengan 25. Kita tak perlu kali dengan percentage of interest. Manakala dalam associate kita kena kali dengan percentage of interest. So kita dapat 155, kita compare dengan 200 compared to 155, kita dapat goodwill sebanyak 45. Okay, kita dapat goodwill sebanyak 45,000 goodwill kita. Okay, seterusnya seterusnya kita akan rekod apa? Okay. Pada tahun semasa, pada tahun semasa, associate ni dia ada profit. Ya, associate ni dia ada profit. Pada tahun semasa, profit of the associate is 500. Profit after tax of associate untuk tahun semasa adalah 500. Jadi daripada 500 ni nanti kita akan kongsi, kita akan berkongsi sebanyak 25% daripada profit ni untuk kita masuk dalam statement of profit or loss. Okay, jadi disebabkan kita tak ada subsidiary, kita hanya ada associate, maka dalam kita punya statement of profit or loss, kita tak campur revenue of associate. Kita akan ada revenue of the investor only. Kan? Revenue of the investor only. Kita tak campur dengan associate. Associate ni kita hanya akan ambil dia punya share of profit saja nanti sekejap lagi. Okay. Jadi sekarang ni revenue 9,000. Cost of sale 4,490. Okay. Kemudian dividen from associate tadi kita eliminate sebab itu adalah dividen daripada associate, kita eliminate. Kemudian share of profit of associate. Kita tengok dekat sini, share of profit of associate 15. Sekejap kita tengok nanti macam mana dia dapat 15 tu. Tadi kat sini kita punya profit for the year. Profit for the year 100. B7. Kita tengok B7 ya. Okay, jadi kita sebelum kita pergi kepada share of profit tu, okay, kita ambil dululah share of profit 15 ni. Okay, lepas tu sebab masa tak mencukupi, kita akan discuss semula nanti. Okay, share of profit 15, ada calculation dia, nanti kita tengok sekejap lagi. Dalam kelas akan datang lah kita akan tengok. Kemudian expenses 2,000, profit before tax 2,525, kemudian taxation 1,200. Profit after tax is 1,325. Okay. Kemudian dekat bawah ni ada share of asset revaluation reserve of associate tadi. Associate tadi ada asset revaluation reserve yang baru iaitu 50. Jadi share 25% daripada 50 adalah 12.5. Okay, 12.5. Kemudian total comprehensive income adalah 1337.5. Daripada amount tu, semua amount adalah attributable to parent. Tak ada langsung yang attributable to non-controlling interest. Dan kemudian kita tengok dalam consolidated statement of changes in equity. Okay. Dia tidak mengubah apa-apa sebab kat sini kita tak ada subsidiary. Jadi kita hanya mencatatkan balance breakdown of group retained earning daripada parent saja. Kemudian campur dengan profit after tax for the year, tolak dengan dividen, menjadikan total balance carried down adalah 525 di sini. Manakala group asset revaluation reserve Okay, balance breakdown of the parent is 200. Kemudian ada share of ARR from associate 12.5, dia jadi 212.5. Okay. Negara yang berikutnya pula, ya. Okay, yang berikutnya pula, consolidated statement of financial position. Ordinary share adalah ordinary share of the parent only. Retained earning ni daripada tadi tu, statement of changes in equity. Kemudian ARR pun daripada statement of changes in equity. Liabilities tidak berubah. Dan current asset, parent only. Kemudian ada investment in associate tu. Kemudian ada current asset. Okay, jadi kita pun sebenarnya tak cukup masa untuk nak bincang ni. Saya akan sambung perbincangan ni pada kelas yang 1 jam pada hari Khamis, insyaAllah. Jadi kat sini ada dua hutang lah. Hutang yang pertama, kita nak tengok macam mana kita nak calculate profit, share of profit of associate. Dan yang kedua adalah untuk melihat kepada macam mana kita nak dapatkan carrying amount of investment in associate. Iaitu perlu kepada penjelasan yang lebih panjang lagi. Okay. Jadi saya rasa kelas kita untuk hari ini setakat ini saja dulu. Okay. Dan kita akan sambunglah insyaAllah pada hari Khamis. Ya. Okay, saya harap setakat yang kita dah sampai ni, saya harap difahamilah maklumat yang kita belajar ni. Jadi, okay, ada tak apa-apa soalan? Selain daripada macam mana nak calculate apa tadi tu? Nak calculate share of profit dan juga calculate the carrying amount of investment in associate. Ada tak apa-apa soalan? Okay, saya rasa tak ada. Jadi kalau tak ada, kita sudahi dulu kelas kita pada pagi ini dengan surah Wal-As. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wal asri innal insana lafi khusr illa allazina amanu wa amilus solihat wa tawassaw bil haqq wa tawassaw bis sabr. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.